Welcome to the Divine Mess, a sanctuary where the dance of the empowered masculine and the divine feminine unfolds in all its glory. Join us as we delve into the heart of these cosmic energies, exploring their attributes and the profound impact they have on our lives. From the raw power of the masculine to the nurturing embrace of the feminine, we uncover the balance that leads to a life of abundance and joy. Our hosts, Kurti Deva Perriman and Tina Ryan, are your guides on this spiritual journey who blend science with soul to offer practical wisdom for harnessing your divine energy. We celebrate the beauty and imperfection, embracing the chaos of life's journey as a catalyst for growth. The Divine Mess isn't just a podcast, it's a movement towards wholeness and self-expression. So come laugh with us, cry with us, and grow with us. Every episode is an invitation to explore the depths of your being and to live out loud, authentically, and unapologetically. Subscribe and join our community of seekers as we support each other in this extraordinary, messy adventure we call life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of The Divine Mess. And it's another reflection from us because we had a lovely guest previously in the last week. If it's your first time listening, welcome to The Divine Mess, where we have fun conversation about spirituality, and it's all about practical tips as well. And this year we decided to open doors to guests across the world with a range of topics where they come on the virtual couch to share their wisdom and always reminding us gently of our true potential, of our light, and sometimes saying surrender. That's the word for the divine mess.
Word of the day.
So if it's your first time, again, welcome. And to those who have been following us, welcome back. My name is Kirti Deva Peruman. I'm the Cosmic Alchemist at the Golden Temple, where we help you to transmute fear into love. And like every week, I'm joined by my co-host, who holds the record for a 5K in Perth, apparently. Yeah, she just said that. She just completed that this week. In a 12 minute? No, it's not.
Oh,
Too
get
slow
out
for
of
her.
town.
It's Tina Marie, and she doesn't love the label, but yet she's the self-love coach, helping women to move into the second season of their life, especially women going through divorce or separation. She helps you to spice up your life in a beautiful way so that you can live the best version of yourself. And every single week we have a guest coming on board now, which has been amazing. So quickly on the guest before I leave the floor to Tina to go on her monologue for 15 minutes today. Okay, great.
Get out of town.
So we had Karishma, who is a fierce feminine leader. I can say about the fierce part. Through her unique and impactful courses based on modalities like NLP and hypnotherapy, Karishma is very passionate rather about women's empowerment. She is on a mission of helping 1 million women around the world by 2025 in falling in love with themselves. With the help of her courses, free training, and hypnosis audios, she encourages women on how to improve their self-worth, grow their self-esteem, and put themselves first. What a beautiful way to introduce our guests. So, what were your thoughts as a self-love coach to meet another self-love coach?
Self-love coach. It's interesting, right? Because it's good to know that you're not the only person out there encouraging people to be kinder and gentler to themselves, and that by loving yourself, it doesn't mean that you're ignoring others or that you don't have enough to give to others. But I think it's an important reminder that we need to love ourselves before we can be of service or love anybody else. Because if we don't, it normally means we've got really shitty boundaries and that we end up looking like a willow tree and we're bending ourselves 6 ways from Sunday to ensure that everybody else's needs are being met rather than, and it's not selfish either. I think that's the most important part that you kind of understand from Karishma's story, is that it's not selfish to follow your own heart, to follow the nudges from the universe as to where you're meant to be going, and that it might not meet other people's expectations of what they thought that you were going to be. It just means that you have enough courage. I think that was one of the things that I took away from Karishma's story, is how insanely courageous she was in stepping outside of the familial norms. And I suppose we should wind back a little bit to say that Karishma is Indian. If you haven't listened to her episode, please do yourself a favor and go back and take the time and listen to her story. From a family of all girls, and there, you know, as David can well attest, there is an expectation within Indian families that you study your behind off and that you become a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or something that provides financial stability within the family. And she was doing that, but finding that the universe was putting all sorts of tests in front of her to say, are you really sure you want to be here? Are you really sure this is what you want to be? Are you really sure this is what you want to do? And found that she wasn't feeling fulfilled. She wasn't feeling happy by trying to meet what others wanted for her, but understanding that she had an interesting relationship with her father, and she was quite honest and open and vulnerable about what that relationship looked like. I think it's not an easy thing to say that you don't have a fantastic relationship with the person, one of the people that you have come from, and that, you know, a person that hasn't done their own inner work, their attitudes and their languaging can come off as extremely harsh, when truly on the inside what they want is the best for you. But it, you know, I think his language, how did he term it? That she was a loser, or that, you know, that she wasn't going
Failure.
she was a failure, that she wasn't going to amount to anything. When in actual fact, by being who she is now, she's playing such a massive role within the Indian community here in Australia, and particularly for women that are going through massive relationship issues, not only with others, but with themselves, like redefining what it means to be in service of yourself first. So I found her story really, really powerful. And how did you find in that relating term with Karishma? What did you get from it?
Well, first of all, I could resonate with Indian culture. You know, like you said, like I could resonate more with that part. But like you reminded all of us, like in the episode as well, it's not just like the Eastern culture, like not just the Indian culture, it's the Western as well. You do go through that, but in a different way, in a different perspective. But I could resonate more with where Karishma was coming, because I could see my sister or my cousin going through that, hearing all what she heard. You know, like not from my parents, for example, for my sister, not from my parents, but from other people around us that will suggest that or say that, because you have an expectation, for example, to get married or to go for high jobs. And recently, I was part of a group of coaches, like a peer coaching, and it was like a whole all Indian, and most of like two of them, they were engineers before coming coach, and they were like saying Yeah, so that's how it is in India. Like you're expected to become an engineer first, and then you decide what you're going to do with their life. Like he had a fun way of putting it. He was like, yeah, engineer first, and then we decide what we can become in life. And that's how it is seen in their culture at the moment. But he said like it's changing. And with Karishma's story, I find her, like you said, like really brave to say like no. Um, like we were terming it in the episode at the black sheep. I was saying that like because you're standing up for you and you're saying no to all the cultural norms, you're going against your father, which is considered like the like his word are very powerful in the family. That's how we are seen. Like we consider our father, you know, like, and yet she said no to that and she moved to Australia and she's helping women to go through that, and especially Indian women she talk about. But like you reminded us as well, it's the Western culture as well going through that. But it's just amazing. Like for me, I really honor her courage of doing that because I know how much strength within you it does to take with that, because it's not just one person, it's like your community. And you know, like even for me when I was reflecting, like moving, like the things you can hear from your family members and saying like things like, for me what I heard is like you're leaving your parents behind, like you're going on your own and you're selfish because you're doing that for just for you and it's not for your family. And especially when you're moving away not just for a year when it turned out to be like 5 years now, that's that keep happening, like that keep coming back. But now I'm really, it's not I'm just accepting how they are viewing it because it's their perspective, and it's about respecting that and say, yeah, this is your perspective, I appreciate it, but this is not my intention, and just being clear with that. And I think like Karishma's intention to empower women about this and to remind us that you can be who you want to be, you know, like whoever you want to decide to be, and you are the author of your life. You're the writer, director, the actor, actress, whatever it is. And that's what she constantly reminded us of throughout her story. And what I found amazing again with yet another guest is like how open and vulnerable they are about their story. Like there's no, you know, like there's no, oh, I can't talk about this. I can't share about this. It's like very openly saying like how this is how my relationship with my father is. It has not evolved yet like to what I want, but this is who he is at the moment, and I accept him as he is. That take a lot of gut to do that, to say that, to even say that to the world, you know, like announcing it to the world.
But it was also too, it's the relationship with her sisters as well, because I would say that from her perspective, there's a lot of pressure to conform, you know, just, oh, with typical Western thing would be, oh, we're sick of hearing mum or dad, rant on about how you're doing this and how you're wasting your life, or, whatever the scenario happens to be, whether it be a job or about a person that you're with, or whatever. We're all entitled to make our own choices. I think this is the thing that escapes the as a parent, speaking from a parent's perspective, we would love for our children to be certain things, but I think there has to be a time and a place where we understand that they have to run their own race, and as much as I would have liked both of my boys to be university educated and go on and wear a suit every day, and and how handsome they'd look and all the rest. That's my stuff. That's my crap all rolled up, from the very beginning. But now I understand that my boys need to be physical. They need to be moving their bodies. They can't be the type of people that sit behind a desk and knowing that about them and going, you do what serves you best. I think for them, it just takes a lot of weight and a lot of pressure off their shoulders to go and be the best versions of themselves. I think, Karishma's episode was a timely reminder for the parents among us that we have to love our children for who they are and not who we want them to be, and not based on healing that we haven't done or work that we haven't done, or that the way in which they're acting and behaving is triggering things within us that we don't want to look at. Where was it that we didn't meet people's expectations? Where was it that we weren't the best version of ourselves? Where did we compromise ourselves for somebody else or something else that we thought was for the best, or that, we were the first person in our family to be university educated. So there was an intense amount of pressure to be that person and to hold that mantle for the family. I think that we have to give our parents some space and grace, because they came from a vintage where we see it, then we believe it. There was religious faith to an extent, but I don't think it was as strong as what we would now term our spiritual faith, as well as our religious faith. But I think they have to be aligned for you to see that everything is happening divinely as it should. Whereas, coming from that very strong Catholic background, that this is how life gets laid out for you, and you go and get good education, and then you go and meet a nice boy, and you get married, and you have babies, and that is the lot in life. Whereas, Karishma's had the strength and courage to go, yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it work here in India, because I'm feeling completely oppressed by family standards and community standards. I want to go and try something different, so she's moved and just had complete faith that whatever she has needed would turn up. Mind you, she's doing the hard work. I don't think there's ever a coach on this planet who doesn't have a coach themselves, who doesn't have somebody who's there, whether it's someone that you pay professionally, or whether it's an unwavering friend who kicks you in the ass if you are not living up to your potential. But she has that space where she just does what she needs to do and is being of great service to the community.
I feel like what you just shared, like especially about the parent part, because I'm going back with one client I'm working, the mirror work by Louise Hay, Grandma Louise, and she talked a lot about in her book Life Loves You, like about forgiveness about your parent, because she reminds you like they did the best they could at that time with the best of knowledge they had at that time. And even they had like traumas or experiences, and even let's say their parents were wounded as well, and we can keep going on in down that cycle. And especially in our culture as well, we are reminded, if you come from depending on which family you come from, you're gently reminded that you have to carry on the family legacy, and that's you're expected to. You're not like gently reminded as well, it's like ingrained in your mind that this is who you should become. So when you have someone who go against the like the tide, or going against what's believed, like especially in the community or family, i i i I can hardly imagine, to be honest, like what she has gone through in terms of what she had heard, especially with her mom and her story about her mom and what her dad said, term her as a failure. And that was her limiting belief throughout her life. Like whatever she did was to prove her father wrong. And until she had a coach, that she realized, like, oh, I'm not living for me then. I'm carrying the baggage of someone else, and they are living their life. They have moved on to their life. They already move on. They already forgot they said that. But we tend to carry that all our life because sometimes it's about going back to those moments. And I know in coaching, we talk about like, it's not like a therapist where you go back in time and to understand what's the root cause of things. But sometimes it's good to take a look back in the mirror, and just see what you where where it's coming from. Because if there's a pattern, spiritually we know the universe is teaching you a lesson. But when we go in our 3D mind, and especially the masculine side, where you're looking for definition and an understanding and a plan, and you're not surrendering to the process, that's when we have to remind ourselves to go back to that spiritual place and do that inner work and face our shadows and accept our light in that process. And that's what's Karishma done, working with her coach, for example. She done like hypnotherapy and learning all those tools and technique, how to move beyond her limiting belief, and more especially like forgiving her father. That's a major one. I feel that's one of the major things is like about forgiving your parents and accepting them as who they are, and like sorry, like really accepting who they are and seeing them in the light instead of how they treated you or that wounded side of themselves. I feel that's one of the most difficult things in the world to do. Like from based on my experience as well, that's what I'm talking about. And I know for a lot of people, they go through that because we refuse to do that for our parents, and sometimes they are a reflection of what we don't want to deal with within ourselves. And my dad always say like, children's are your spiritual assignment. So they teach you what you need to learn about yourself. So he keep reminding that I'm his spiritual assignment. And my mom say I'm the toughest one she ever had in her life. So thank you, mom, for that. Yeah, that's a lot of inner work to say that. I'm just saying it. Yeah, we joke about it now. We joke about it. But that's how I can say, like with our family, like my family, we have work on that ancestral part as well, because like cutting off that legacy of carrying all the weights of the negative stuff as well. For example, about money and how people should be, like following down a path that is set for you. And I feel that as a family, you grow as well. So for me, when Karishma is healing, her family is healing, her community is healing, and all women across the world are healing in the process as well. That's the bigger picture from the spiritual perspective. That's how I viewed that episode as well. And that's how I viewed like when you have someone who is doing so much work, inner work on herself and being so blunt and honest about having days where, oh, I thought I worked through that, but clearly I didn't. And being so blunt and honest as a self-love coach to say that out loud, it shows how much work she has done on herself to say that out loud and to accept that with such love and grace, you know and being so tough. For me, she's one of the toughest coach I met because the way she speak in terms with her client, like about self-care. I find that part funny, but it was like, yep, that's clear boundary. She has clear boundary with her client as well and being very blunt with them. And I feel that's how she is with herself to move through that journey, of healing journey.
Yeah, it was it was definitely an interesting episode, you know, to learn about all the things that she had moved through, you know, with her father and, you know, early happenings in her life, which kind of gave her the impression that she couldn't trust men, that men were the devil's spawn. Basically, they had horns sticking out there. Had, you know, horns sticking out the front, and they were aspects of life that couldn't be trusted, that you couldn't trust what they said, you couldn't trust their motives, you know, their actions, all of it, you know, that you had to insulate and barricade yourself from them, which is just a sad indictment, right? You know, even if that is for women from the Indian culture or from women of the Western world, I don't think that, you know, any of us are immune to spaces in time where women have been, whether we be young, middle-aged or old, you know, whether we've been taken advantage of. And, you know, for her to come out on the flip side of that and to start to go, I really want to attract something or someone really good in my life. Like, I really want to have that person that I know will be walking by my side and you know, taking care of my heart and being gentle and having this, you know, having the ability to hold space for me, but at the same time appreciating me for who I am. But, you know, she was quite honest in saying, I've got a lot of work to do. Like, you know, I've got a lot of healing to do when, you know, it comes to that subject of wanting to attract a person in her life. Because the thing is, I think if we go looking for that person without having a good look first, we end up attracting the same type of stuff, but just in a different set of pants, right? I think Oprah coined that phrase quite well, that, you know, your life lessons turn up, they just turn up in a different set of pants, right? And you get the lesson. So, you know, I think it's a great thing to see someone like Karishma doing the hard work, and also, you know, because looking at your own crap is not pleasant, and it's not easy, but it's essential if you want to live your best life, you know, because there's no point in ignoring the dark corners or the mess. And it just means that, you know, we need to do a lot of hard work before we get to attract those gorgeous humans into our space. That we're not looking for the Tom Cruise, they complete me type scenario. We're looking for, I think, the other side to the coin. So, you know, I take that away from our experience with Karishma, and are quite thankful for her time and her energy that she brought to the episode.
Yeah, and I think like it was a great reminder, you know, about like loving yourself and just accepting like who truly you are. Because for me, when I was reading about, for me, like Grandma Louise, like we say, she's the reference in terms of self-love and acceptance. She went through a lot of hardship throughout her life. And while working with the client on the mirror work, I realized like how much, you know, like she spoke about the self-love aspect. And, you know, like with Karishma's coming in, it's like a great reminder for all of us to take a good look in the mirror and uh, tell ourselves, you know, like those loving words. Like Mel Robbins has her way of giving high five, you know, like just giving yourself a high five in the morning. That's a way of showing love to you. And like Karishma said as well, it's not just the self care part, it's about loving. is like, how are you taking care of you emotionally? How are you looking after yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually as well? It's not always about the other people. Like you were talking about parents, because as parents, it's like so easy to forget your self care or your you, you, because it's all about the little one that came, like into your life, and you feel like responsible, of course, to take care of them, and it become like your whole sole focus. And it's like that's where the study that shows that how many parents, when the kids leave the house, like we call them empty nesters, that's when, oh, so what do I do with me? Like what can I do? What are my dreams? What are my ambitions? Where did that go? Where did that time flew by? And I realized, especially working with mom, that the question about dreams, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what are those? Define dream for me. Not even goal, like forget about the goal, the ambition. I don't know what it is. Even having fun, I don't know anymore what it is. And I keep reminding myself of your example, even just going to the bathroom, having 1 minute by yourself. And that's an example that's stuck in my head, like you, because you have said it so often on the podcast as well. And that's a great reminder for parents as well, especially for moms, I feel, about reminding yourself self-love.
But I think that the biggest challenge is that if we are not fulfilling our own needs first, what are we teaching our children about self-love and self-care and their practice of honoring themselves? Because then when it comes to having friends or people in their lives encouraging them to do something which they feel might be wrong, they're going to follow the path of least resistance and do the really dumb stuff and not honor their own needs first, because they've watched mum, dad, or both not honor their needs and putting themselves first. We have to be extremely mindful of how we are teaching our children. But I think from the perspective that we've learnt from Karishma is that we have to honor our needs. We need to do the work. We need to show our kids that it's really important to do that inner work, and also to show that to our parents and our siblings and the other people in the family, that the work can be done. And it's not easy and it's not pretty and it's not beautiful, but also at the same time it is. There's joy and there's understanding and there's love throughout the whole process of getting comfortable with who you are and what you desire, and that you can be two things at once. You can be a parent and a person. You can be a sibling and a child, but also follow your own needs. I think that's the most important bit, that if we as parents, and I look at it from Karishma's perspective, that her parents were probably doing the best they could on any given day, simply to have a roof and to have food on the table and to ensure that they could find, great families for their daughters to become part of, that they were elevating their children to the next level. But I think, unfortunately, what that does when we sacrifice our own needs is that we're teaching our children that self-sacrifice is a good thing, that ignoring those nudges and concepts and ideas and all of those things, and we ignore those for ourselves, we're teaching our kids that that is socially acceptable. We're not doing them any favors by bending over backwards and giving them everything that they need you know, by us working our butts off and giving them an easy life, we're not doing them any favors whatsoever. But if we aren't doing our work, we're not doing our kids any favors either, you know, and being an ostrich is of no benefit to anybody. But it's nice for Karishma to think that when she then moves into a relationship and she has children of her own, that she will know very clearly what's important to her, and being able to allocate time for that self-nourishment. I don't think self-care is necessarily a good word anymore. I think that self-nourishment covers it so much better, because whether you're nourishing yourself with food, whether it's being outdoors in nature, whether it's moving your body, whether it's your spiritual practice, whether it's meditation, whether it's the people that you surround yourself with, it's how are you nourishing yourself. And I think she's an excellent example of doing what serves her best and serves her community best. And, you know, having an ambitious goal of helping 1 million women within the next 18 months, that's a super ambitious goal. But I don't doubt for a minute that she won't achieve it, you know, because she's determined for women to have a better life, you know. And also men as well. I think there are a lot of men who are givers, natural givers, and they forget about themselves, and they bend over backwards for their children and for their friends, and forget to take good care of themselves. Because for men, I think it's equally as bad, if not worse, to put your hand up and say, I feel really good. This doesn't feel really good anymore. I don't really want to do this anymore, but I'm the man, I'm the provider, I'm the one that's meant to be making stuff happen. And I don't want to, you know, my battery is no more. I have nothing left to give. You know, how many men suffer burnout because they're not honoring themselves?
Yeah, can resonate with that. Thank you for the reminder, my friend. No, but it's so true with men as well. That concept of self-love and self-care, like you put it. I think I'm starting to feel the same, like about self-care is getting like a bit overrated now. And it's like people are not, oh yeah, self-care. It's become that casual word, just like saying that I'm stressed. It's become equivalent to that, like saying, oh yeah, I'm doing my self-care. And I think Karishma, how fierce she is with her client, reminding them gently in her way how it's not all about the nail, like getting the nail done or going for a spa massage, whatever it is, but it's all about like your emotional well-being. What are you doing for that part? What are you doing for your mental well-being? And when you're
Yeah.
talking about men as well, we on those groups, on those Facebook group, I am for men, like suffering from depression, like practically like every hour you can have someone saying like, you can have 5 6 posts saying like how depressed they are, they need help, they need someone to talk to. Yet they say like, I know on this group I won't be judged, I won't be seen as a weak person, I won't be, like, and they say like they can't show it. And I still remember that video. For me, is one of the most powerful video. There was this girl on TikTok saying like, yeah, who is going to help me when I'm alone? And there was this series of replies to that video of men saying, absolutely no one. In their own way, they were saying it, obviously, in colorful ways as well. But it was like really powerful to hear that actually, as men, we feel like, yeah, we can't put our hand up because you're seen as weak. You can be considered as weak, or people will judge you as weak because you're asking for help. Yet our self-care or self-love will be like going to the gym or doing something physical. That's one way that we
Mm.
can like can work on our self-nourishment, I would say. But
Yeah.
speaking out with friends, definitely the conversation that we have among our friends compared to women having conversation, it's a whole different level,
Mm.
like the way we speak about our emotions, all of that. For me, the way personally, what I found is with my best friend, this has evolved like drastically. Like we can
Yeah.
actually say, this is how I'm feeling. So this happened. Before it was like this happened, that's all. Now we
Mm.
allow each other say, yeah, so tell me, how did you feel? And when we are doing it in Mauritian Creole, it sounds weirder. And we talk about that. Like when we are saying like, yeah, that doesn't sound right. So let's go back to French or English when we are saying that. And that's the weird part for us as well. And what I realized, even as growing up as Mauritian, like we don't have a word saying like about like how do you feel? It's like coming from the French, word saying like, uh, well, comment tu te sens? So it's French. How are you feeling?
Mm.
But even that, if I say it in Mauritian, they will be like, well, are you saying like how I'm smelling? Because it could sound like this, it's just the way you're saying it.
Hmm.
But it's weird. Like for me personally, it was weird like to have these conversation in Mauritian Creole. Yet I will be so at ease saying it in English or French, but in
Yeah.
my language it was like difficult. So sometimes some language we don't even have words to describe how you're feeling, so people find it.
Yeah.
And we were not growing up in a culture where you are allowed to speak about your feeling, because you are expected as men like not to have them. Yet
Mm.
in my home, like this was not how it was. Like we would be asked, like my dad would ask, even if I won't say anything, but he will still ask.
It asks the
And
question, yeah, which is
yeah,
important. Like, where does that land? Where does it sit? How, what what does it bring up for you? I think how did Brené Brown termed it as the story I'm telling myself. Like, when you get into that space of someone says something to you, and then all of a sudden these just shitty mind loops go around and around and around, and it's probably nothing of what that person is thinking about at all. But I think if we can take anything away from Karishma, it is honor yourself. And if you're struggling, put your hand up and just ask for some help. And it's okay to go against the grain. Like it really is. And I think as much as it is for women, I think it's more so for men that put your hand up and say that you're struggling. I think partners and wives or, boyfriends would much prefer to have you earthside and know that you're struggling and going, okay, well, let's see how we can fix it. Let's see what we can do. Let's see how we can, you know, get some help or change the way we look at this situation, rather than having to deal with the loss of somebody that you love because they felt they couldn't come to you. That they felt that you wouldn't feel comfortable in looking at them in a way in which they didn't have their shit together. I think that's the biggest thing that I've taken away from the experiences that I've had in my life, where people have taken their life because they just didn't feel that they measured up to going, well, you know what, we would have preferred to have had you and helped you than to have lost you. And the stuff that you've got to ask the people that are here, that are left, that the stories and the mind loops and the shitty first drafts and all the, not having the ability to rumble with someone and to play out all of these scenarios that we play out in our head and then to come to some sort of resolution. we need it to be better, you know. So reach out, ask for some help, be brave, you know, because it's better to say something than to sit and brood with it inside yourself, because it doesn't help anybody. And then the people around you can pick up that something's not quite right, but they can't put their finger on it. And we're not mind readers. As I've always said to my boys, there is not a TV screen on the front of your head where we get to see how your day's played out, or how people have treated you, or how you've behaved for that matter. So utilize this thing in the front of your face and actually say something. Write it down, send a letter, send a text, put it in some way, shape or form, so that people know where you're at, so that then we can get the help that we need. But, you know, out of everything, it requires a little bit of bravery and a little bit of courage, and to realize that you're not on your own. Everybody's going through their own struggles. And yes, people want to hear where you're at. Don't think that they don't. You know, yes, we all have a lot on our plates, but we'd prefer to have one extra thing on our plate, you know, and help that person out. No, that's my, you know. So if you don't have somebody, reach out to either one of us, because you know what? We'd much prefer to be of service and assistance. And if we need to act as a mediator, the ham in the sandwich, so that the communication happens between two people, then let it be so. But yeah, take a little bit from Karishma's bravery and courage and add it to your day. Add it as one of those little 1% atomic habits into your life, because you'd be surprised how quickly things can change.
And I think it resonates with her message, you know, like about not empowering like just women, but everyone. And if you're looking to contact her, you know, like we'll put all the links. She also have like a free ebook, you know, about like 10 secrets to give yourself the love you deserve. And also she have a 5-day self-love challenge that you can participate. I'm pretty sure it's free. Yes, it's free of charge. And then you can go with her coaching, and I'm sure you will benefit from it. If you're looking for a really tough cookie, I would say, like, but she's an amazing energy in terms of how open and vulnerable she is about her experiences. And she reminded all of us about how to take care of ourselves. And I love how you put that, you know, like take on self-nourishment instead of saying self-care, because that's so true that we do. It's like, for me, it's like going back to the garden. Like it's like going back to the garden. um, and obviously that will remind us of our Tai Chi master that we had in the previous weeks. And
Mr.
that was,
Dave,
and
so good. Go touch a tree. Feel
and it's
good.
exactly, so it's about nourishing our soul as well.
Mm-hmm.
And look, what are you nourishing yourself with? You know, like that's a good question to ask yourself. What are you
Mm-hmm.
nourishing yourself, and with whom are you surrounding yourself? And like we had so many guests talking about how community is important in those moments. And I
Yeah.
feel that on the self-love journey, yes, it's a self-love, focusing on you first, but your community as well is important to support you. And that's, like Tina said, that's why we are here. So please free to reach out. We'll, if it's not us, we'll connect you with someone, because we know people now a bit more, a bit more
We've
people.
got a great community of gorgeous humans that
Yes.
have amazing abilities
Yeah.
and gifts that they're more than willing to share. So, yeah, do your surf life saving thing. If you're Australian, you kind of get that, you know, wave your arm up in the air and say, hey, feeling like my head's about to pop underwater. Do that bit first.
And if you're not Australian, just reach out to us. Just saying.
Send an email, right? Or a message. We'd love to hear from you. And we'd love to hear about how you're nourishing yourself, and how it looks for you, because we're always up for a new challenge. We're always up for trying something different. So if there's something else that we could add to our 1% atomic habits, we are always up for it.
That's what we are looking forward to hearing from you. And thank you yet again for another episode, reflection. And we are, like going on so many healing journeys ourselves, with
Yeah.
every episode, it's a reminder of our divine journey, not just divine mess, but it's like reminder how to surrender to the divine. Of course, we had to say the word, and just remind ourselves that we are always being guided.
Yeah.
And if you feel guided to Karishma coaching, please go for it. We'll highly recommend it. And if you feel like you want to know her better and get to a sense of her coaching, so go for her self-love challenge. Try it out and see how it goes. And hopefully you can connect with her. We'll put all the details in the notes. On that note, from my part, it was a great reflection, in yet again about self-love, self-nourishment. What a great way to change self-care, not say self-care, but also how brave people can be when they see themselves maybe as they have been considered all their life, feeling outside of their family or outside of the group of friends. And you can actually take one step towards you and towards your journey. And through a coach or through someone that you're with for help, you can actually get better at healing yourself, and which will give you that great mission of Karishma, like helping 1 million women by 2025. And that's a great vision to have. Amazing one. So on that note, from my
1,000%.
side, it's thank you for listening. And I will leave the last few words for Tina. She will do another 15 minutes. Yeah, go for it.
I love you, seriously. We love you. Thank you so much for your most precious resource, which is your time that you have spent with us today. And we look forward to sharing the couch with you again next week. But until then, take very good care of yourself. Nourish yourself first before you nourish others. And we will speak soon. Take care.
Thank you.